The major philosophy I'd follow is to breaking things down to being as simple as possible and looking at things in small steps rather than the one big step to complete your problem or your task or whatever you've got ahead of you. That's how I like to think about things. A lot of the time I see now in the workplace, people get overwhelmed with tasks given to them or asked to be completed by them, and you look and people start to panic and stress and those sorts of things, but it's because they look at how big the task is and how long it's going to take and those sorts of things. But when you start to break things down into those easy, smaller chunks to conquer, basically you realise that it's a small step. It's like, you know, your sporting career, you can't just go straight to the top. You've got to do the little stepping stones to get there, and that's what's important. They're the important things that I carry into my work life now, that simplify things, work out a plan of attack, and from there you just got to execute your plan of attack. So that's probably the major thing that I'll carry through from my sporting career into my work life. Resilience, I think, is a very important thing. From a sporting analogy, you look at being 1 or 2 goals down in 10 minutes to go in a game of hockey, and when you go to the workplace, you can be behind in a project or over budget or those sorts of things. But at the end of the day, you've got to deliver a project and get it out the door. And when you look at the analogy of sport of being down, you know that there's still time to go. There's still 10 minutes left, and you've still got an opportunity to win that game. And that's the way I look at it. You've always got to look at be optimistic about the challenge that you've got in front of you, and know that at all stages of that challenge and that process, that you can actually complete it and deliver what you've set out to do. I've always been pretty wary of life after hockey. Basically, it's obviously not a high-paying sport. You've got to be realistic. There's only a few people that make the good money out of it, and at the end of the day, you've got to have something going along outside of your sport for various reasons. One of them is if things in your sport are going not to plan and you're struggling and those sorts of things, you have something outside of it. So the chips are down, you're playing bad and you're not performing well, you're not getting selected. All of a sudden your life can start spiralling down that path. But if you've got something outside of your sport, whether it's work or whether it's study or those sorts of things, you've got some other part of your life where things might be going well and things might be, you might be having successes, and from there, those sorts of things you can feed off, and that can also come back into your complete round circle into your sporting career. I basically made the decision going into the Beijing Olympics that I was going to pull the pin on my career. As much as I'd like to keep going now, it's probably my body that's telling me it's time to stop. It's a bit disappointing. I would have liked to have gone on for another couple of years, but at the end of the day, I've looked for a quality of life, and I want to be able to get to 35, 40 years of age and kick the footy around with the kids and those sorts of things, because families are obviously very important to me, and there's part of my life that I'm looking forward to, in having a family and those sorts of things. And I didn't want to be, wheeled around in a wheelchair or anything like that, trying to, chase after my kids and those sorts of things. So, yeah, whilst it's great and you're living your dream and those sorts of things are playing at the top level, when your body starts to talk to you and say, listen, you're really starting to push me here, and it's time to maybe think about giving up, and that for me was the time to say, right, let's pull the pin, and let's now set ourselves goals outside of sport, and whether it's your career and family and those sorts of things, and move into that new part of life. I was probably early 2008, around April, something like that. I got an injury in my preparations for the games, and I think that to me was the telling point to say you're pretty much going to hold on for the rest of this year, and fingers crossed the body holds together, which it did, and after that it's time to give it a rest. At the time it was easy. but now that I've retired, maybe it wasn't. You miss it now that I'm retired, but at the end of the day, I know I made the right decision, because at the time I didn't rush into it. I had plenty of time to say it's time to hang up the stick and pull the pin on my career. So yeah, it was relatively easy to make that decision. One, it was my body telling me, and also just my drive and those sorts of things to keep going at that stage was saying, no, after this year I've had enough, that's enough. I want to move on to other parts of my life. I think looking back on my career now, I realise how important what we call the 1%ers are. Just the little things that can make a big difference. And I think looking back at certain times, I probably didn't do those as well as I should have, and I think that's probably the only thing that I regret not doing. When it came to the big tournaments and the big occasions, I always prepared well, and 100% and 110% even for those things. I was really thorough with what I did. But in terms of the smaller events and those sorts of things, I'm not sure if I prepared to my fullest. And I'm not talking a lot, it's only a little bit, but it's those little bits that all add up to make your performance at that level the best it can be. You know, maybe that may have made a difference to my overall career of longevity. Maybe if I had have been a bit more thorough in the gym, all those sorts of things, maybe I might have gone on for another couple of years or something like that. But at the end of the day, yeah, I don't look back with any regrets at all, but I always look back and think, what if I had done this and what if I had done that to improve my performance.